All right, guys. My name is Petra Vita, and I wanted to go over a quick video today, just going through a couple of things. First and foremost, how to record good vocal takes for sending them to someone else, right? Or for just working with and mixing on your own. Way too many people record way too loud, and it can be kind of frustrating when you start to do your first collaborations. You might not know you're doing anything wrong. The other person might be frustrated because they're getting a bunch of too distorted and not very good quality clips from you. Maybe they don't line up right on the song. So we're going to talk about how do you record things at the correct volume. And then we're also going to talk about how do you export them correctly so that they're easy for someone else to work on or for you to work on in another program, okay? So I'm going to try and keep this quick and the exposition minimal. But first things first to know, we're working in Reaper. That is the DAW I work in mostly. It's really good for tracking vocals. If you're currently still using Audacity, or maybe you produce in another DAW, but it's not as good for live tracking vocals as it is for your production workflow, consider Reaper. It has an unlimited free trial, right? I ain't associated, but it's you can use it without any restriction in functionality for free indefinitely, and you also can buy a license. It's only like $60. Eventually, I ended up doing that, but it's very reasonably priced. It's a perfect piece of software for rappers tracking vocals, and the simple stuff like this, it's very quick to learn. So let's jump into it. I've got this song right now where I recorded a little verse that sounds like this. Yeah. Tell me that you feel it up inside your heart. Oh, I forgot the cause of pain was your damn heart. Low blows to the ribs, kicks while you're down this. Not the thoughts that I had, not the future I'd envision. I'm well wishing into wishing wells, but my... Alright, y'all don't need to listen to the whole thing. But you can kind of get the idea. If I solo out the vocals and I get rid of all the effects here, actually let's just follow out the lead vocal right here, like so. Okay, this is what it sounded like when I recorded it. Tell me that you feel it up inside your heart. Oh, I forgot the cause of pain was your damn heart. Low blows. I want you guys to notice something. We can see in our mixer down here the track that this vocal is on. End of time, make it the end of mine. Right here, where my mouse is. Into a circle if I knew what was coming in the end. The loudest that recording is getting is negative 11.6 decibels. Maybe there's a louder part over here. To the lifeless life, cause I just wanna be sleeping. Negative 10.9 is probably the loudest. What's this? What's maybe one more? What the fuck we do? Negative 10.7. So when you're sending vocals, a lot of times they are way too loud. Record your vocals. A good idea when you send someone your raw vocal takes, don't think they need to be loud. You're not gonna lose so much quality bringing them up with a compressor and stuff later on. You're a much lower risk of losing quality doing that than you are if you record too loud and get shitty, peaked, choppy vocals in the first place, okay? So do not record your vocals so that they're almost at zero. Don't record them so that they're just a couple decibels under zero. Aim for anywhere between negative 16, maybe negative 14 and negative 10. The sweet spot would be to have your peaks and everything kind of right in the negative 14 to negative 12, negative 11 range, something like that. You can even go quieter, okay? But err on the quieter side than the louder side. So if we listen to this right now. Frown up and down, I could watch your lips part to the end of time, make it the end of mine, and I would have bent my time into a circle if I knew what was coming in the end to consume me. Kick me out to sea, let the blue waves move me, how peaceful, let the beach roll over the horizon, goodbye. Even with our effects and stuff, we're gonna get just fine in quality as we bring it up in volume, etc. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about how you get things at this correct range, because your mic setup might be different. I've got a Rode NT1A behind me, so that's what we're going to switch over to right now. So I'm actually going to change microphones, and we'll be right there. And so now you guys should be hearing me right about here, okay? So let's talk real quick about mic technique, how you get good sound. When you set up your mic, make a fist about like so. Make it so there's, say, about 1 fist length between the microphone and the pop filter, and then at least that much again between the pop filter and your mouth, okay? So don't get up close and kiss the mic, and you don't need to be way back here, okay? If you're not in the perfect room, you probably don't want to. You may have seen some rappers in studios and stuff that look like they have quite a bit of distance from the mic. If you're in a perfectly isolated room and you're gonna have a very dynamic recording, and you might do something like that. But for your purposes, try the double-fisted rule. I don't know, sounds dirty. Go with that, okay? And then the next thing to think about is you really need to think about mic technique when you record. So if you're rapping and you're like, "Good God, I know I got the gift to gab." When you got that gift, you really need to literally back up when you're getting louder and more aggressive, and come in when you're getting to the softer parts, and go back out when you get this, and back in when you get this, okay? And think about that in your verse as you're rapping through it. This is especially more important if you don't have an XLR cable mic like this going through a sound card, or a sound card and a preamp into your computer, external sound card, I mean, a sound interface. Mine's plugged into a Scarlett 2i4 right now. But let's say you only have a USB mic to work with, right? A lot of times you don't have as fine-tuned control over the gain on those microphones. And even if you do, say you have something like a Blue Yeti microphone that has a gain knob, that still is not going to give you quite... it won't give you... those mics can be overly sensitive in the way they're handled. And it's very easy to peak, crackle, and kind of ruin your recording, right? If you get too loud and you're close, they're going to distort, you blow people's eardrums out. So it's even more important to think about the dynamics of your verse, moving a little bit back, a little bit closer as you rap when you're recording your verse. If you have a USB mic, it's important on every mic, but really think about that, especially if you can't control the gain very well on a USB mic, right? Maybe all you have is like the Windows settings, you can turn it down a little bit or something. Then you really need to be careful and record quieter than you think you need to, because otherwise you're gonna it's very easy to peak, and then you got to redo that recording. Okay, so that's all I really wanted to say about this. It's just something to keep in mind, okay, as like a rule of thumb. Let's go ahead and go back now to the other mic, which means turning around to my computer over here, and we'll go back to the other scene like this. The final thing I want to talk about in this video is, okay, we recorded a verse, and as we can see, you know, the music starts way at the beginning, okay? We've got that at 0. It's very important you've dropped your file in at 0, 0 right at the beginning of the project. That's where your beat should start, okay? So first, make sure you got that. Then we didn't just sit here and wait for a minute and a half of blank space before we started recording, you know. I wanted to be in this second verse because someone else is going to work with this and put something in the first and third slots. So I just hit record here, recorded my verse, and then turned it off again. First step when you have a recording like this, let's say it looked more like this when it started, okay? You want to make sure that you get rid of any extra noise that snuck in at the beginning and end, so you can take any blank spaces and bring those in a little bit. A lot of times, you know, a keyboard click from you hitting the stop recording key, you brushing up against the microphone as you turn to it or away from it at the beginning or end, that sort of thing. Speaking of which, I'm going to move that one away. Those can sneak in there and put noise you don't want in your song, right? So first thing, trim the ends real quick. Next, what you're going to do, give each of your track a name. Now, every DAW has a way to do this export I'm about to show you. I'm just going to show you how to do it in Reaper, okay? Turn off all effects that are on any tracks your vocals are on that you're about to export, okay? Then what you're going to do is select the tracks that you want to export. And you're going to click like that so it's highlighted, and you can control-click any number of other tracks. So I'm going to export these ones. This is Petra Vida Yosemite Lead and Petra Vida Yosemite Ad-Libs, okay? So what we're going to do now is go to File up here, Render, which is Control-Alt-R. Then under this source box, the very first drop-down, change it from Master Mix to Stems Selected Tracks, okay? For the bounds, put Entire Project. Then what you're going to do, choose where you're going to export them to. I'll just put them in the main Yosemite Verse folder I already have for this project, but you can make a subfolder called Stems or something if you want. Now this is cool right here. This wildcards button, click this, and you'll see a $track option here. What this does is for your file name now, it's automatically going to export each of the ones you have selected. It's going to automatically export each of those with whatever the name you set in the DAW for the name of that track, okay? So you're going to get, you know, Petrovita Yosemite lead vox.mp3 or .wave. Same thing with the next one, etc., okay? Also, I might as well, since I'm making this right now, I brought this volume up to show you guys how it sounded when you brought up the vocals. I'm just going to go ahead and reset this dial to 0 for the volume on our vocals, so the engineer gets them at the recording, the original level we recorded them at. Anyway, back to our settings window here. Output format, I would go ahead with wave and make that the the default format you export to, just to get the highest quality. These you can generally leave at the defaults, the rest of the settings. Now once you do this, you are ready to go. You can hit render, and it'll say render 2 files. If you have 1 track, it'll say render file. If you have 5 different vocal stems you're exporting, this will do render 5 or whatever. Click that button. And you'll wait for it to render those. Hit close. And I have a little plugin that is feeding the sound from my DAW through to you guys, so sorry if any extra noise came in there during the render. But what you should have now, if you go to your folder, is check this out. I've got a file right here called Petrovita Yosemite Adlibs and Doubles wave file, Petrovita Yosemite lead vox wave file. Now, one thing you'll notice, right, is these are the exact same file size, and even though these are different things, you know, I had more sound data being in one of them than the other, but because we exported them as stems, that's why we did stem selected tracks during the export. What we end up with is files that have the exact amount of blank space, these are called stems, before our verse starts, so that if anyone else drops the beat in at 0 in their DAW and then takes our file and drops that in as well, it should line up at the exact right time, and this makes it so much easier when you're working with other people, okay? And you'll see what I mean. So if I open this lead vox file, you'll see it's a waveform that's the length of the entire song, but it's empty right until we get to the part where I'm
to the ribs, kicks while you're
actually
down
rapping.
Not the thoughts that I had, not the future I'd envision. I'm well wishing into wish.
And again, after my verse ends, blank space till the end of the song. So, to make sure this worked, what we can do, one last thing, I'll put these over here and Reaper on the other side. We're going to go ahead and go, I'll just open a new project tab right here. I will drop in the beat that we had here. So let's say your new audio engineer friend, he drops in this beat, right? And then he uses that same beat, and he goes, okay, Petrovita sent me his lead vocal, so let's drop that in another track. Okay? And now, if we did it right, I should have this blank space, and look at these vocals should come in right when that starts up again. And I can go ahead and feed the sound from Reaper here through to you guys, and we can just see if that's lining up about where it's supposed to. Okay. This is going to be kind of loud. Let me turn it down.
Yeah. Tell me that you feel it up inside your heart. Oh, I forgot the cause of pain was your damn heart. Low blows to the ribs, kicks while you're down this. Not the thoughts that I...
Now, obviously, these are unmixed. You could, if you wanted to give an example, you could, export these stems in the exact same way with the effects on them or whatever. But what we've done now is we've given our audio engineer completely dry vocals
down this. The rhythm of your frown up and down. I could watch your lips
of our verse, and they line up exactly where they're supposed to on the song, no matter where they open them. And you don't have to have someone that uses the same DAW as you, etc. these things save a lot of time and frustration when you're working on projects with other people. So I just wanted to make this video real quick for you guys. Hopefully you find it helpful. To very quickly summarize what we went over, when you're recording your vocals, try and bring them, get them recording so that you're not getting any louder than, say, -12, -11 decibels or so with your louder parts of the vocal recording. Try and make it so that when you're recording to your mic, as a rule of thumb, start out with about a fist distance between the microphone and the pop filter, and then another fist distance between the pop filter and your mouth, and then make sure when you're rapping, if you get louder, you move away from the mic, and if you're getting quieter, you move a little closer to the mic, okay? And then when you export, you can look through this video, the process to you select your tracks, go to File, Render, Stem Selected Tracks, Bounds Entire Project, Wildcards, set it to $track, and then just render. And you will have created files that are at the right volume for your audio engineer or your collaborator. You will have exported files that start and stop at the right time, so they don't have to try and move your verse around to get it to be on beat or start where your verse is going to be. And you make everyone's life way, way easier, including your own if you're working back and forth on something. So I hope you guys found this helpful. Yeah. That's all I wanted to share with you today. I don't think I'm going to do any editing on this. I'm just going to throw it up on YouTube. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments, or, I don't know, reach out to me on Reddit or SoundCloud or something. I'm Petravita or Petravita Music pretty much everywhere. Peace. Good luck making your music.